guys, my name's Lisa.
And I'm Brittany.
And I'm Tara.
And this is the Imperfect Moms Club. Each week, we promise to give you the honest truth about all things mommyhood, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the real ugly. In today's episode, we will be talking about marriage after kids and how we've had to adapt since having our little ones. Well, guys, my hubby and I went on a date the other night. So exciting. First one in a really long time. Yay! I got all dolled up, and by dolled up, I mean I put on a clean shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And my hair wasn't in a messy bun, it was down. And I actually put makeup on for the first time in months. And not only did I put on makeup, I put on eyeshadow. Okay. So
very nice.
This mama was looking good.
Mm-hmm.
I put on eyeshadow, and so we went to this Mexican place down the street, and they sit us at this booth, and then my husband wants to sit next to me in the booth, and then he put his hand on my leg, and then he's really, really listening to everything I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just, I think this guy likes me. It's funny to think about because being a parent, I feel so mentally and physically exhausted all the time that I feel like we kind of, and him too, I feel like sometimes there's a disconnect. You're so focused on your kids that you kind of forget to, I have to make them feel special too, and I have to make them feel like they're appreciated too. And so I told him too, I was I was surprised that we were being flirty. You like me? What is this? You like me? You mean like?
Yeah.
Do you want to date me again? I feel like the only time that we really get to kind of be alone is, after she goes to bed. But then even at that time, so I put Lily down at 6:30 for nighttime, and that kind of gives us a few hours to just kind of chill and be by ourselves before we go to bed. And so that's kind of our time to be together. But even then, I mean, some nights I'm just so tired, and I mean, especially being pregnant, hello, I'm tired. So by 7:30 I'm already passed out, so now we only get an hour for
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's just it's tough. And even when we go out to eat as a family, we have a toddler, so we have to constantly be watching her and doing stuff with her and keeping her engaged and whatever. And so there's really it's hard to kind of be all lovey-dovey before, because before Lily, it was just, and even when I was pregnant with Lily, it was still just us.
Going out to eat as a family is not a fabulous experience when you're the mom.
Yeah.
I remember so many times when we would go out to eat, and at this point it was just us and Clara, and she'd be a toddler, and I'd look over at my husband, and he's sitting on the other end of the table just enjoying the glory of whatever it was he had ordered, and I'm on the other end trying to make sure my daughter isn't sticking a fork up her nose or ripping the tablecloth off, and I'm trying to shovel food in my mouth at the same time and shovel food in her mouth and all the things. And he's like, isn't this just so great? And I'm like, no, this is not great. And we were trying to reach out to this other family, and I think at that point they had 4 kids. They were expecting a 5th one.
Wow.
I'm like, oh my goodness, lady. Mom, there were all these little kids, kindergarten and younger kid. Well, maybe that's anyway, they were little, and we're talking. We're like, oh, we should hang out with them, be friendly, whatever. And Mike's like, yeah, we should all go out to eat at a restaurant. And I had our 2 kids at that point, and I was like, no, please do not make us do that. You guys can go out to eat. Us girls are just gonna stay home and let the kids play in the kiddie pool, because no, this is not a fun experience.
It sucks because I know that, I know in my head that it's gonna be rough and hard, but at the same time I'm I really want to do that. I want to go out. I want to go out and I want to go to eat and whatever. And then my husband's the one that a lot of times he'll remind me but Lisa, it's gonna be a bad time.
As they get older, it does get a little bit easier, but I mean, I mean, we went out to eat as a family the first time in a long time. And I think my toddler, she just hadn't gone out to eat in forever. So she was stuffing her face, and I'm pretty sure she was about to puke at the table. And I'm like, we have to get out now. But because it's, the COVID and everything, I'm trying to, and I didn't want them to think, oh, she's leaving and she's not paying for a meal. Like, no, my husband's still there, go see him. But can I have a paper bag? And I have my mask on. And they're like, what? I'm like, she's going to throw up. Help me.
It's a crazy change. Like everything changes. I mean, I guess that quote that we posted about how like it's just a huge like shift. Like everything transitions and there's roles are redefined and all that stuff. It's just like the way we feel changes, like the way we feel towards each other. Fights, like they feel worse. And there are new fights too. Like there are new fights that I didn't even know like were a thing. When Lily was first born, I guess I had like my mama bear persona like start to happen. And so it took me a long time to even let him do the stuff. Like even though I was really exhausted, and so he'd get mad at me because he thought that I didn't trust him. And it was like a weird, like we had to kind of like get used to each other again. Because, having a baby, like you have the pregnancy hormones and then like you have the kid and then you have like the drop. And then so they call it fourth trimester for a reason, right? Like I was still crazy. And so so it's just like new fights and figuring out how to parent, because we've never done this. Like it's still crazy to me that like they let you leave the hospital with a full human and they just let you walk out with it, like they just like even if like no, you don't need a degree, like you don't need like any advanced like whatever, like you just all right, like you just pushed this human out of your body and now you just get to go home, like yay, like and try not to kill it, you know what I mean? So there's just a lot of stress that there's no way to prepare for in advance. Like there's like even if you think that you are prepared, like I mean we're all just winging it.
Yes.
So it's hard. It's hard to like keep the magic alive, I guess is what they say sometimes, because we're just exhausted. We're overworked, and I don't know. How are your guys' relationships with your husbands doing? I mean, mine's fine. Like I'm painting a picture of like, oh my god, things are terrible. Like things are okay. But yeah, it's difficult sometimes.
I, like Brittany, also married my high school sweetheart. So we've obviously known each other like forever, especially because we came from a really small town. So like we like there's 200 people in our entire high school. So we started dating in junior high, and then we broke up because junior high relationships are very serious. Got back together in high school. That was a little more of a serious relationship, but we ended up breaking up. And then after we went to college, kind of, we were always in each other's periphery because we had the same friends. After we went to college, we got back together. But I think a lot of people think, when you marry your high school sweetheart, it's just like this big, beautiful fairy tale. And it's not necessarily, there's a lot of advantages because we kind of were raised the same and things like that. But we probably dated for, I don't know, 10-ish years. I stopped counting after a while before he popped the question. And then even after that, we were not really sure that we were even going to have kids. I think especially for my husband, he likes to have all the freedoms of pre-marriage life. And so
same with mine.
When we found out that I was pregnant, it was like an instant, like I knew like, yes, this is what I want. And I think my husband was definitely more apprehensive. And, I think that's, a kind of a normal thing. And it's okay to be apprehensive about it because it changes everything in your life. Like you were just saying, from finances to just your, everyday freedoms. So sometimes, when the weight of parenthood and the division of responsibilities, I think my husband sometimes is a little more, he's okay with me bearing that weight because this is what it feels like to me. Anyway, this may not be how he actually feels, but this is how I see it. He's okay with me bearing that weight because I'm the one who felt like so strongly that I, wanted this baby. And then, that leads to, resentment on my end. And I think that has been kind of doubled from the pandemic because he works from home. I still have to get up and go to work every day. And not that he's not working, I don't mean to say that, but the division of responsibilities for Charlotte is always, I make sure she has what she needs to eat, and I get up, take her to daycare in the morning. He does pick her up, but sometimes I'm just like, why aren't you doing more? Because you're at home all day.
That's a common fight that my husband and I used to have is, the division of responsibilities, because he works full time, but I mean, sometimes it feels like I'm doing like 3 jobs as a mom. And so like, it's really hard for me to keep things in perspective and be like, no, he's contributing because he makes the money and he, supports me and Lily and he's doing all these things. But like when I'm really tired, you don't do anything and I do everything. And and so it's, I don't know. It was a common fight with us. There were a lot of evenings of just tension because I'm just really tired and I just don't feel like dealing with, and then he'll tell me he's tired and I'm like, okay, really? But I mean, I know he's tired because he's using his brain all day and, but I mean, I'm using my brain and my legs and my arms and my back and like, and I mean, don't even get me started on like being very pregnant. It's just, like I'm growing a human. Leave me. Like, I don't understand. And then you add anxiety on top of all of that. I think anxiety just I feel like anxiety just affects like everything. There's like this overshadow of just the anxiety and the depression making everything worse. Like, the fights we have about responsibilities, I get in my head and then my brain starts convincing me that he resents me or that like there's more problems than there are.
One of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast is just to offer support to other moms. Whether you have anxiety, mom guilt, postpartum depression, or you're living your best mom life, maybe a combination of all of those things, I want you to know it's okay to feel all the feelings. You're not alone. We see you. We hear you. You're doing great. Solidarity. Because we need that as moms.
This podcast is made possible by listeners like you, and we really love sharing with you guys. Now back to the show. It's just, all of a sudden, like we took on this big thing called, this new human. I don't think there's any way to prepare for just the amount of more that means. Like there's just so much more responsibility and so much more to think about. And, you mentioned like finances. I mean, yeah, even that, like all of a sudden, like we're spending so much money, but like none of it is on stuff for us.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
It's all
the diapers.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate every time because right now we're still in pull-ups. We're so close to being potty trained. I'm so close. And I'm like, this is the last box of pull-ups or the formula. And then, I mean, I love shopping for clothes, but after a point, it does get annoying. I'm like, oh my word, we just bought these pants. Like, how are they like capris on you already?
Yeah, and they grow so fast.
Yeah.
My Lily has a butt that just won't quit. Like, and I just like, it just keeps growing. And then her pants I'm like, will you stop? Like, please, like just today, I don't know, just frustration because like I'm trying to, I don't have any of my own like money. I mean, I guess it's our money, but like, it's not, it's not really because it's the money that he makes. But, so I'm like, she needs pants, she needs socks, all this stuff. And so I'm trying to find stuff online and I'm trying to make it as reasonably priced as I can, but it still ends up being expensive. And so like I'm stressed out because I don't feel like I have full authority to just spend the money, right? Because he's the one with the money. And so I'm asking him, and then he's like, well, I'm delegating this to you. Like, this is like baby stuff. And I'm like, oh my God. And so it's just it's different and new frustrations that we just weren't prepared for. And there's no way to prepare for that. I wish there was. I wish, someone made a manual, like how to be married with a kid without wanting to kill each other sometimes. Because I mean, there are times when I'm like, how much is that life insurance? I'm just kidding.
No one's figured it out yet.
Yeah. I mean, like I mentioned before, like we're all just winging it. And I mean, I get stuck in the, I want to keep my husband happy and my kid happy. And then I start to kind of forget that, like, oh, I also have to be happy. So there's a lot of that too. Like I don't do self-care. Like that's not a thing. I mean, every so often I'll get my nails done. But like as far as having like people always talk about like, oh, you need a self-care routine. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. What is that? What is self-care? Like what? Self-care for me is, being able to shower by myself. When I take a shower and I just stand under the hot water, and there's that moment where you're like, I never want to get out of the shower. I never ever want to get out. I'm gonna live in here. I'm gonna be really wrinkly. I don't care. I'm just gonna stay in this water because nothing can get me in here. I don't have any responsibilities in this water right now. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard trying to keep everyone happy. I described it to a friend of mine as like there's like a pizza and it's slices of like, I give a slice to my husband and I give a few slices to my kid, and then like all of a sudden there's like no slices left for me. And so I don't know, just trying to figure out. I mean, I wasn't really that great about self-care even before I had kids, but like now it's like I'm like, oh crap, like now I don't have time to figure it out. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just floundering, I feel like sometimes.
Well, you definitely, I know like it's this quote on Pinterest and whatever, but you can't pour from an empty cup. And I know when you're a mom, I try all the time. You're going on not very much sleep. Half the time, a lot of moms, they're not getting all the food that they need, or they're shoving junk food in their mouth because they don't have time to sit down and make a salad. They're just trying to go. So everyone's self-care looks a little different. And it got to a point because I was very depressed and incredibly anxious, and there were a lot of factors into that. It's like this whole lasagna of layers as to why I was having such a hard time. But part of it was that I wasn't taking care of myself. And something that Mike and I have gotten fairly good at is like, we have to communicate if we're going to make this work, if we're going to make it work with our jobs and with our kids, and we have to communicate. So I remember him sitting me down, and we're just talking about how stressed out I am and how depressed I am, and I'm just sad all the time. And it's just hard to give and give and give when no one's giving back. Not that he wasn't trying to give back to me, he was trying to take care of me, but he's like, you need to take time for yourself, and we're going to find a way to make it work, because if you can't take care of you can't take care of the kids. And he couldn't do it all by himself either. So for me, it could be, I just need an hour to go out to the dollar store. I just need 20 minutes to go on Pinterest or Instagram, and I'll just tell him, I'm like, I'm going to take a break. And he just knows what that means. And he's like, okay. So he'll have the kids, and he knows, keep the kids out of the bedroom, or if I'm in the basement or whatever I'm doing, if I'm sewing or painting, he knows, okay, she needs some space. She needs some time, because that's my time to refill my cup. For some people, it's going out for a jog. For some people, it's reading a book, it's drinking their tea, it's baking cinnamon rolls. Everyone has something that gives you joy, like pure joy. It's not going to look like the same for everybody. Not everybody has a skincare routine that just puts them in the zone. Not everybody likes to go get a massage, but everybody has something that makes them smile, that gets them like that little kid excited inside of them. So like, what is your little hobby? You don't need to be super amazing at your hobby, but if it makes you happy, you have to find a way to prioritize it just for a little bit of your time to refill your cup, because eventually you're just going to be this dry, empty cup, and all that's going to come out is just anger and sadness and just nothingness. And that's not good for anybody. So you have to take care of yourself too. And that's not being selfish. But I will admit, it's hard. It is really hard. Sometimes, I don't get to shower. I just spray more dry shampoo and I put a little extra deodorant on and hope nobody notices. Sometimes I don't have time to pack my lunchbox, and so I grab a cheese stick and I throw it in. I'm like, that's what I have time for, and I just run out the door. I feel like moms just have this thing in them where they can go on very little, but eventually the car's gonna stop going. Okay, you have to refill it at some point. It just for us, it was just a lot of communication between each other. We're like, okay, how are you doing? Being able to read each other when he can tell I'm starting to get maybe a little snappy with the kids or frustrated. He can tell like, okay, she needs a break, or I can tell, okay, he needs a break, and just kind of take some time. It could be 15 minutes just to like refresh yourself and just fill up your cup a little bit before you go back in and do a little more.
I think that communication is really key, because I find for myself, one of the things that I know I need to improve on is I don't ask for help until I'm like, I've reached my maximum, and then everything boils over, when if I had just asked for help with whatever I needed, then maybe I wouldn't have reached that point. And so that's something I know that I need to work on, because no man is even close to being a mind reader. And so I know I need to work on that. And I think that communication is really the key.
Again, because of the rules being redefined, I kind of took it upon myself to like, oh, I'm in charge of the home and I'm in charge of the kids and whatever. And so like, I feel bad when I ask him for help. And plus like anxiety just makes me feel like, oh, like I'm just a monster, because how dare I ask him to do something that I should be, able to do. And so, and then that causes frustration because he can see that I'm dying.
Mm-hmm.
And he just wishes that I would just be able to just be clear with him and ask him. But, I don't know. It just, it's hard. I ask him all the time. I'm like, well, are you happy? Like, am I doing everything that I need to do? Like, am I being a good wife? And like, I mean, I know that like, it's like 2021 and, like, I feel like, I don't know, culturally, like that might be a little weird to some people, but like, I want to make sure that he's happy with me, that I'm keeping us good. I don't know. My anxiety likes to tell me all the time that I'm so tired and I'm so overworked and whatever, and I'm not really paying attention to the relationship, that like he's just gonna like leave, or he's gonna go find someone else, or whatever. And so I put a lot of stress on myself that I don't need to. So communication is definitely something that I'm also working on. Is I need to be comfortable telling him, hey, I love you, but you need to, do this for me right now, because I'm about to, yeah.
And it's hard sometimes, because I'll just be so tired, and I've had kids touching me all day long, and I do kindergarten, so sometimes they're not even my kids, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm just so done with you. I love you all, but I'm done. And he'll come in and maybe he'll kick his shoes off, and I've told him, I don't know how many times, the shoes go right here. I have this lovely little rug. Please put them here, or whatever. He doesn't empty his lunchbox out, and whatever the thing is, then it's super easy to just kind of snap and be like, would you just fill in the blank, whatever the thing is. And I still do that sometimes, but I have to try and like just take a breath and be like, honey, I don't like it when this is cluttered. Would you mind could you just put your shoes over here? Or honey, when you have a chance, could you please, whatever the thing is. And then also just say, listen, when everything's really cluttered around here, it makes me get really anxious and I feel like I can't work in the kitchen, or when the guy, I clean and I fold all of his clothes and they always end up right on the floor in this one pile. And I'm like, could you not do that, please?
Mhm.
So I'm like, honey, so I'll explain, not in an accusing way where it's like, I can't believe you do this. Don't you know how hard I work and whatever, that's so inconsiderate. You have to take it from a point where you're like, okay, sweetie, I spent a lot of time doing all of this and I've put everyone else's clothes away. And when you leave it on the floor like that, it really just, it doesn't make me feel good. And just explain from your side of it how you are feeling and how it affects you, and just say, would you mind, could you please, could we, whatever. Or sometimes I'll offer a choice, like say we need to clean up the kitchen because we just made dinner and there's dishes everywhere, but we also have to get the kids to bed at the same time. So instead of me just running around trying to do everything by myself, I'll just look over and be like, okay, here are the things that we need to do. Do you want to do the kitchen stuff or do you want to do the kid stuff? Like, do you want to do the brushing of the teeth and the pajamas and the story time, or do you want to load the dishwasher? Like, would you just help me with one of those? And so he gets to decide which one he would rather do. And honestly, I'll just be grateful for anything. I don't really care. So that is helpful too. But I mean, like, we're never going to be 100% perfect. We've gone through stuff and we've fought until 3 a.m, but we're still here and we're still going strong and we're still in love, and we're going to be having issues for the rest of our lives. But I'm deciding, this is the man I chose. This is the man I love. And we are going to make this work, you know, but you're going to go through stuff like that when you have kids. It's very normal. It doesn't make you any less of a mom, any less of a wife to have issues.
Yeah. It just all of a sudden it becomes like, it's not about the two of you anymore. It's about, the person you brought into the world. And it takes a lot of getting used to and a lot of trying to figure out how to, like we've been talking about communication, like figuring out how to communicate, because even communication changes after you have kids. Like, it's not, I mean, first of all, because there's like a little toddler that's there, so you don't have as much time to just like have a big long conversation, but also just like the way we talk to each other, because you change when you become a mom. Like, everything about you changes. And so, like, I'm not the person I was before I had Lily, so I don't communicate the same way. I don't need the same things. I don't have the same wants anymore. And so, like, I'm having to try to figure out the new me, but also trying to figure out how the new me fits in with the new him, and so it's just I don't know, it's kind of like we're married, but like we're both different, so like the whole marriage is different, like we're just different people. I don't know, he's different too. We're all, because we have different things to think about and different stresses and stuff. Communication is definitely something that that is key, but figuring out how to communicate in this new brave new world, parenting world, is like a battle in itself. It's a thing in itself.
I'm not actually that interested in Charlotte thinking that marriages are perfect. And so I think it's okay to have a respectful disagreement, your partner in front of your kids, because, they need to see that process of working through the disagreement and knowing that things can come out okay on the other side, So I'm not interested in Charlotte necessarily thinking that marriages are a fairy tale or that they're perfect or you're always going to agree with your partner, because that's not realistic and it's not life.
I mean, that's one of those things. Another like brand new fight is like, okay, what do we want her to see, but I think you're right. I think it's good. I mean, it's good for them to see that sometimes, obviously not like, drag out fights, like
right,
like, you don't want her to see you guys like yelling at each other, but I mean, yeah, no, I agree that some disagreements, I mean, it's good, and for her to see not just a disagreement, but then, getting back to it and making up and being happy afterwards and stuff.
Yeah,
that's important too. It's just a brand new ball game.
Yeah, we've definitely had some disagreements in front of our girls, and I would rather have like the really heated discussions privately.
Sure.
I don't want to scare them, but we have had disagreements, and there have been moments where I've lost my cool and I've yelled or I've you know, whatever. And I will go first. I'll fix it with him. We'll fix it. And then I'll go to my girls and I'll say, listen, mommy got really upset and mommy shouldn't have yelled like that, or mommy shouldn't have whatever, slammed the door. That wasn't very nice, was it? And mommy is sorry. And I want you to know I love you and I love daddy and we're okay now and whatever. And just giving them that reassurance. But also like acknowledging when you've messed up, because you're a human and your kids need to see that, you know, and like, oh, wow, mommy, like, because, well, why can mommy slam the door and yell and scream, but I can't, you know? It's like, no, that was wrong. Mommy made a mistake and I'm sorry. And this, you know, modeling for them, how do you fix the relationship?
Thank you all so much for joining us this week on the Imperfect Moms Club. If you liked what you heard, please be sure to visit our website, theimperfectmomsclub.buzzsprout.com, where you'll be able to subscribe as well as find links to our social media accounts and a list of our episodes. We would also love hearing from you, so feel free to leave us comments on social media or suggestions for future discussion topics. We want this podcast to be as relatable and accessible as possible, so your input would be greatly appreciated.